Give me a minute. First of all, I'm apologising if my audio is out of sync, but I can't seem to fix it. I'm not sure what the latency issue is, but give me a minute. The video stream and audio stream are both being sent out by my phone at the same time, so I have no idea why the audio is going out of sync. Give me a minute. Oh, it looks like it's in sync. Right. Okay, I'm going to tell you a story. You seem to love stories. Well, this is a freaking true story. It's a nightmare, and I hate talking about it. But tonight I came across another situation which prompted me to want to talk about this, because I am tired of them constantly pushing this shit on us, on me. I'll tell you why. Right. So, in 1977, my father was having difficulties with the selling that he used to do, because he was a salesman. He was a door-to-door salesman. The company that he worked for, I don't know what it was some sort of recession at the time. I think there was something going on with a bit of a recession, because it was around the time of the coal miner strikes and everything, and he used to travel the country selling vacuum cleaners, Electrolux. Anyway, we were still living together as a family. I was 17 years old. My brother was 15 years old, and he decided to take us back to the town where he was raised, which was near Hull. I don't need to tell you the full details of that. So we went back to this town because he wanted to go back into the leather making industry, which was with a factory there in this particular town. So we weren't long in that location. I think it was around about the time when they started to introduce certain artificial sweeteners into soft drinks. My brother was a keep fit fanatic. He was crazy about weightlifting, keeping fit. He was a young kid. He was only like 15 years old, and he wanted to impress his mates and his friends, and he wanted to bodybuild. That's what some kids want to do that. So he was drinking. He was trying to avoid fatty foods. He was drinking diet drinks. He used to, when you're sweating, when you're pressing up, when you're doing you're lifting those weights, whew, you sweat, right? So he was drinking a lot of pop, a lot of fizzy drinks, a lot of diet drinks. Anyway, it was around that time that he started to have epileptic seizures. Now, initially we thought that it was because a kid had punched him at school. He was in a fight. And it all seemed to make sense. Brain damage maybe. But it didn't go away. He kept having seizures. So he was on phenobarbital. The doctor put him on medication. And I can talk about it now because he's dead. And I'll tell you why. So at the time I was working in an engineering factory. I was going to work on my moped every day and coming back, and my brother was still at school. Remember, he was 15 when we first moved there. So anyway, by the time he's got to 16, he's still having epilepsy. It got to the year 2017 and he was unemployable. As soon as he mentioned that he suffered seizures, everyone said, "I'm sorry, we can't employ you, you're an insurance risk. We can't have anyone suffering seizures in the workplace that might fall in the machinery or it's an insurance thing," right? So my poor brother couldn't get a job, right? So he was basically stuck at home. He was on my father went and had to get him on a disability. So he was put on a disability. I can't remember the name of it now because it's a long time ago. It was 77, 78. Anyway, 1978, the factory that my dad was working at, there was a lot of things happened there at that time. Somebody set fire to his freaking pigeon loft, for God's sake. My brother had a pigeon loft as well. Someone arsoned it. It wasn't a good situation to be in. 78 came around, I think it was 78, 79. The factory was having trouble. I don't know the full details, but the factory ended up shutting down and it became a freaking museum. Well, it was demolished and the museum sprang up. But we moved out. That was after we moved out, by the way, the museum thing, right? So we moved back here. And it continued, the seizures. My brother continued to have seizures. And it was getting worse. He was drinking lots of diet drinks. Anyway, at the time, my mother was in a hospital for psychological issues, let's just say. She was out of the picture. She wasn't around to be able to help support my brother, and well, things were crazy. We were going through a difficult time. There was the divorce between my father and my mother, and when we got back here, while we were here, it was then that she came out of the hospital and she was back with us, and she couldn't understand what had happened to my brother. She said, "Why? What happened to Eddie? What happened to him?" And we didn't know. We didn't know anything. So the years ticked by. The years ticked by. So, cut long story short, in 2005, it was on Christmas Eve, 2005. I was hard up with money and I had $2. And I went down, I was talking to my brother and I said, you know, do you want to help us get some Christmas presents, you know, for the kids, you know? And he said, "Sure, yeah." So we went out, he gave us some money. We went to Comet, because Comet was still here. It's gone now, but it was still here at the time. We went to Comet and we bought a DVD player for the kids, right? My dad brought me back, dropped me off outside. I came in. My dad went home. And then I had a bad feeling. I had a really bad feeling. Something was wrong. Something wrong. And I got a phone call that my brother had died. He'd had a seizure. And I just couldn't believe it, right? I just could not believe it. I thought, no, this has got to be this has got to be a mistake, because in the past things have happened before where he's been riding his bicycle and he's fallen off his bike because he's had a seizure and he's been rolling around in the street, and I thought maybe somebody's misidentified him, because I didn't realise he was at home. I thought, you know, something else had happened. I thought he'd been out on his bike and he'd fallen off, and somebody had misidentified him or something. And then my father said, well, we need to go up to the hospital. I said, oh, right, okay. So I went up to the hospital on my bike, my moped. I got there and the police were there. I thought, what's this all about? So I'm outside in the reception area and I'm saying, I need to see my brother. And they said, sorry, no one's can go in right now. And I said, why? I just need to make sure if it's my brother or not, because all I've heard so far is basically nothing, apart from the fact that my brother's dead. I need to know that it's real, and I can't believe it's real, you know? You don't want to believe it. And they said, well, we need to do an investigation. I said, what do you mean? He said, it's suspicious. I said, what? Suspicious? And then my dad explained to me what had happened. He said he'd gone between two beds because my brother had epilepsy and my father also had medical issues, so they used to look after each other basically. So neither the two, not both of them at the same time had issues, right? It was usually one or the other. So my brother had fallen down between the two beds and suffocated during a seizure. But the police didn't know about the seizures. They thought somebody had suffocated him and left him there, and they didn't understand. Anyway, once they'd verified the medical records about the seizures and everything, it all became quite clear, and they were checking us out. I couldn't believe it. They were checking us out. But you see, we were at Comet, so we had a receipt. So we knew, they knew where we were when it happened, right? Because we just bought this CD player. It was crazy. We felt really insulted. I'm really in shock and upset about my brother dying, and they're treating us like freaking criminals, right? So, anyway, they got it all resolved. They spoke to the doctors that he'd been on phenobarbital. I think part of the reason was that in 1985 my sister took an overdose of my brother's medication, phenobarbital, and she killed herself. So that was a separate thing. I didn't mention that because I don't really want to talk about that because it's too sensitive. I actually found her and it's not nice to talk about that. But in 1985 my sister committed suicide. But that was something else. That was because of a husband that walked out and cheated on her and went off with another woman. This is about the phenobarbital. I mean, this is about the freaking aspartame, right? This is nothing to do with suicide. So anyway, I'm trying to remember everything. So it was actually 2 or 3 years previous to my brother dying that my father had been diagnosed with diabetes. He was told no more sugar. The doctor said no more sugar. They even provided with a health pack, apparently called a health pack, a no sugar diet health pack, because he was on a disability himself. So it was prescribed. I can't even say the name because it might be slander, or they might say, oh, you can't mention our brand name. Alright, I won't, because it doesn't matter because about the brand names, because it's in everything. You can't walk into a shop now and buy a diet drink without it being in there. It's in everything, right? Doesn't matter what brand it is, it's in everything. Just about everything. So my brother died. He got really bad. His seizures got really, really bad after my father replaced all sugar in the house with this aspartame. Because my brother was using it as well. So not only was he drinking diet drinks, which has it in, he was drinking coffee and tea and everything else with this freaking stuff in it. So no wonder he's freaking dead. I'll explain what the proof in a minute, right? Because there is proof. So after my brother died, it was 2 years later, in 2007, my dad died. He'd been on this aspartame stuff for about, what, 5 years maybe? Maybe 6. I'm not sure exactly when he started taking it, but it was about 5 years. And he died from cancer of the bowel. And he was in agony. I was told the story by the doctors and the people that knew it, where he was living at the time, that he was curled up in a ball on his chair, curled up in a ball like this. Oh, you can't even see me. He was curled up in a ball with his arms around his chest like this, crouching in pain. And that is not a nice way to go, trust me. So after my dad died and my brother was dead, we had to go and clean the flat out. Remember, up until this point, I had no issues with anything apart from my other gender dysphoria syndrome and my other medication issues and my depression and everything else. When we cleaned the flat out, I also cleaned out the pantry. And I took all the foodstuffs that was in my dad's pantry back home to where I am. So I had 3 big jars of aspartame. 3 big frigging jars with a red lid on the top. And I felt something about this at the time. I thought, what the hell, all this frigging... Well, I didn't think much about it. I thought, well, I might as well use it. And I looked on the date on it. It said it's still in good date. There was a couple of that weren't even opened. I thought, well, that'll save me some money. I don't have to buy any sweeteners for ages. So I'm a sweet tooth person, right? I'm a sweet tooth person. I like to have 3 sugars in my coffee, or so I was putting like 2 heaped spoons of this stuff in my coffee, and I drink a lot of coffee. I might have a coffee every 2 hours or every hour and a half. I drink a lot of coffee. I always have done. I've never had a problem with coffee, ever. But then, something happened to me. I was going to bed at night. I was waking up in agony. My legs were like tensed up, really. Cramps in my legs. It was like muscle spasms I just could not control. I couldn't relax my leg. My muscles were rock hard in my legs. My muscles were freaking rock hard. I thought, what the hell's going on here? And I was in agony. It was killing me. Really painful. Right? It was really painful. And it happened every freaking night. And this was about 2 or 3 weeks after I started taking the freaking aspartame, right? And I didn't know what was going on. I thought, what the hell's going on? What brought this on? And then I thought about, I said, am I eating something, or am I drinking something that I haven't had before? What's different? because I analyse stuff, you know, that's the way I work. When I fix electronics, I analyse everything. I work it out. I think, well, what's different? What's the anomaly? What's the missing link? Or in this case, what's the additional link that shouldn't be there? So I look through the cupboard, I'm looking at all this stuff, I think, well, I've had that before. I'm looking at some canned soup. I'm looking at the sauce, I'm thinking, well, I think I've had that before, and I haven't really eaten much of that anyway. Then I looked at the aspartame, the sweetener, and I think, hang on a minute, there's a load of this stuff, and I'm drinking 3 teaspoons in my coffee every freaking time I make a coffee. I've never used this stuff before, at least not on this scale. So I went on the internet and did a search, and I came across a website called sweetpoison.com, and it has a whole long list of side effects. And guess what was in the side effects? Seizures, muscle spasms, cramps, headaches, migraines, blindness. I thought, oh my God. I said, well, that's it, I'm not taking any more of that shit, you know. I stopped using it, and the muscle cramps were still there for about 2 or 3 weeks after I stopped using it. This is the proof. I had a personal experience. 2 or 3 weeks after I stopped using that stuff, the cramps went away. I was no longer waking up in the middle of the night with a hot sweat and a freaking cramps in my legs. It went away, but I was damaged because I had weakness in my legs now. I had problems. I had balance problems. I was losing my balance all the time. I'm still balanced. Balance problems. I've got a freaking thing in my ear where I'm sleeping on the left side, and it's like a big giant, it feels like an explosion's about to happen in my ear. It's like pressure, like a big boil or something in my ear, but I don't know what it is. And I told the doctor, they don't give a shit. Doctor never said nothing. I said, what's this? Why am I getting this pain in my left ear? Why when I lay on my left side does it hurt? When I lay on my right side it goes away. He never told me anything. So anybody that wants to talk about medical misinformation, why is the doctor not telling me anything about this? And I want to know. They won't even tell you nothing unless you ask them, and you have to keep pushing them to get information out of them nowadays. They used to voluntarily tell you stuff, but not anymore. It's like they're afraid to talk. Well, I didn't need to ask anybody about the freaking aspartame because I knew it when I stopped taking it. My problem with my legs went away. At least with my legs, not with my freaking other stuff in my head. Then I started talking to other people. I'm saying about my dizzy spells and everything. I say, I get that too. You talk to people, oh, I get that, visual migraines. Oh, I get that too. And you see people driving past in a wheelchair. Guess what they're drinking? Freaking Diet Coke. You can't walk up to these people and say, excuse me, but you're drinking a poison. You can't tell them, are you fucking nuts? You're a conspiracy nut. You can't. You can't tell them anything because I've experienced it myself. They've got to wake up and figure out what's wrong. And if they're not going to work it out for themselves, it's not for me to tell them. And I can't walk around with a giant billboard over my chest saying, aspartame makes you have cramps and makes you go crazy. No, that won't work. So basically I've lost a brother and I've lost a father. And every time I walk into a freaking shop, and you pick up any diet drink you want, you pick up, it's got either aspartame or acesulfame, which is the same thing. It's basically the same thing. It's everywhere. And I'm trying to find a bottle of fizzy pop in this hot weather. I need a cool drink. I need a cool drink. I'm too hot. And you're looking for all this stuff. You pick up the bottles to read the ingredients. That takes you a good half hour to read all the freaking labels. And some of them, you have to go to a website. Go to our website to read the ingredients. What are they hiding? Why don't they want to print? It was against the law a few years ago to sell items on the shelf without actually printing the ingredients on the bottle. Now you got to go to a freaking website to read it. So needless to say, I am pissed because my brother's not here anymore because of this. I can't blame anyone on my sister because that was a different matter. It was someone else that did that. But as far as my brother goes, he was poisoned. And I walk into the shops and you see this stuff on the shelf and you think to yourself, my God, they're selling this freaking poison. But you can't say nothing. They throw you out the shop. Why, you're nuts, you're freaking, get out. You can't say anything. You can say, oh, I've got an allergic response. What is an allergy? An allergy is your body telling you that whatever it is you're putting in your body is toxic to it, right? That's what an allergy is. An allergic response is nothing bad. It's a normal physical reaction to something that doesn't belong in your body. They used to use the lip, top lip, to test leaves to see if they were toxic to you, to see if you get your skin would start to pop out and you get a lump. They used to put it under your tongue to test if a leaf or something you wanted to eat was toxic. People have forgotten about all that. They don't teach that anymore. Basic survival, basic human biology has a way of informing you if something is bad for you. You used to also rub leaves, dock leaves, on your arm if you got stung by a nettle. There's something in the dock leaf that used to be react and remove the pain or the stinginess. I'm not sure if that was superstition or what, but we were told that when we were kids. But all I know is that the stuff in our food now, we have no idea how to measure it, how to gauge it, or how to check if it's toxic to us or not. We have no idea because some of it's so freaking mild. It takes a long time. You can eat gallons of stuff and no effect. I'm fine. No effect. You've got to be a freaking private investigator now to figure this stuff out, because you can't put aspartame under your tongue. Huh? That's poisonous. No, you can't. You can't do that. It doesn't work. It's subtle. It's so freaking subtle. It's accumulative. It's something that builds up. No. And it gets in your freaking bones, for God's sake. Your bone marrow. That's why it's so difficult to get it out of your body once it's in there. It gets in your freaking bone marrow. And my friend, he can hardly freaking walk. He's got problems walking. His joints are falling apart. He's having to have a knee replacement. I'm thinking, no freaking wonder. If your bone marrow is messed up with this stuff, it's going to mess up your entire freaking body. Anyway, enough of this. This is a true story. This is what happened to me. And anyone out there wants to say, oh, you're speculating. No. Remember, I'm 66 now, right? I'm no secret. And 2005, I would have been, 55? I think. Hang on. No, 45, I think. So, 45 years on the planet, never had a problem with my legs ever. And then, miraculously, at the very moment when my brother dies, I'm drinking this stuff and I have these severe problems with my legs. And then, I stop taking it, then the problems go away. 2 and 2 make 4. You know. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'm going, and I'm really annoyed that they keep pushing this crap on us, because it needs to stop.